and unexpected for him to really actually, he went through all of his rehab and everything, with the surgeries and all of that. Oh my gosh, I'm just amazed by his story and the way that he came back. And yeah, it's not, I understand, the Washington football team, maybe not for him to come back so soon from those extensive injuries, but, even better for Alex that he was able to go ahead and rehab so quickly and come back and be able to play the game. And
right.
Pretty much any other person, really would really not be up on their feet, and much less, I know I wouldn't be, putting myself out in the field. And we know how risky that can be, how risky it is, especially coming from an injury, a severe injury, especially one that like with the one he had, to be putting yourself at risk and having yourself be re-injured. He went through 17 surgeries, Ed, 17 to fully repair the bone and clean out that infection.
That's amazing. The human body is not designed to go through 17 surgeries, and the rehab that Alex Smith had to go through just to be able to walk again and avoid death. He was that close to dying, Joanna.
Yep, he was.
But through the grace of God, he was able to pull through that, and he's alive today. He's got a story to tell. He's got a testimony with what he's been through over the last year plus.
Mm-hmm. He has. There's a documentary that came out after he went through his surgeries and as he was going through his recovery. If you haven't watched it, I believe it's on ESPN, if I remember correctly. I recommend it. Go ahead and watch it. You'll get to know.
Oh, it's really good. It's very good.
It's really, yes, it's great. But it's unfortunate that the Washington football team didn't really have that hope, or that, and having him or welcoming him in that aspect. And they just kind of gave him, I would say, turn the cheek and okay, we'll just do what we have to do. And now it's come. But at the end, he knows that he wants to continue playing football. There's other teams that are out there that would be willing to, that he would be great for and would want him. The 49ers, maybe the Seahawks, who knows? There's still that. There's, other teams that are needing quarterbacks. So, I'm sure that he'll land a spot and he'll end up going somewhere where he knows he will be happy. He will feel wanted.
Whether he's a starter or not, that remains to be seen. Whether a team will take that kind of chance to name Alex Smith as a starter on their football team. If not, he'd be a very serviceable backup at the worst.
Yeah, definitely.
You could have a lot worse guys on your sideline, Joanna, as a backup quarterback than Alex Smith.
Yes, definitely. So talking about injuries, someone who's out at least until the after the All-Star break, and we're shifting sports here. Kevin Durant with Brooklyn Nets. That is, ouch. Being with the Nets, how great they've had, a great of a run they've had. They've been able, and we've talked about them. They're like the team of the year. I know we started talking about them before even the season started and expected them for them to have the tremendous season that they're having. I know some were very skeptical of that, but now we're hearing that's the buzz and that's the talk of the Nets, especially with Steve Nash, his first year coaching, and the coaching staff that's around him and the players that are around him. They've been able to go ahead and just go out full force, and they're on fire. But now they lose Kevin Durant. So now what does this mean for the Brooklyn Nets? Are the Brooklyn Nets going to still be able to go ahead and stay on top and come out with those wins? Are they going to be that much affected really by losing Kevin Durant for, at least through the All-Star break or a little bit after that?
I don't think so, Joanna, because we saw it the other night when they were in San Antonio, how James Harden took over that basketball game and willed the Brooklyn Nets to a victory down in San Antonio over the Spurs. Of course, it'd be great to have all three of those guys together, Kyrie and James Harden and Kevin Durant, but Durant's sidelined with a hamstring injury, and they have Kyrie in and out as he's kind of still dealing with the shoulder surgery he's coming off of. So they limit him to some games as well, because they don't want to overstress him and overwork him as he's still making his way back from that shoulder surgery that he had. He's not completely 100%. but he's still just as effective as ever. Kyrie Irving is. But that's the great thing about having an MVP candidate in James Harden, a guy that can just take over at will and just destroy basketball teams. And that's what he's done ever since he's come to Brooklyn. He's doggone near average to triple-double since he's been there, and he leads the league in assists, and he just does just things that defy logic on the basketball court. It's amazing what Harden can do. He's one of the most dynamic talents I've ever seen on a basketball court, and he's showing it right now with Brooklyn.
Yeah, Harden has just been a different player. I haven't seen too much of him since he's been with the Nets. I've catch some of it, but just seeing as of late and the little bit that I've seen him recently, seems like a totally different player from when he was with the Rockets to being with the Nets. Or is it just me, or is it really, just how it just turned around? And he's not James Harden that we were used to seeing when he was, an all-star player with the Houston Rockets.
Oh yeah, he's playing at a level that when he was there in Houston, when he was actually happy. This is the James Harden we're used to seeing when he would put up 40 and 50 points a night, and he just absolutely just torch basketball teams. He wanted the deal to go to Brooklyn, and he got his just wish. He got the deal to go to the Brooklyn Nets and team up with KD and Kyrie Irving and be with Steve Nash and make that basketball team a legitimate championship contender. And clearly one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference outside of the Sixers or the Milwaukee Bucks. This is an excellent basketball team. And once KD comes back and he's healthy for this second half, whenever he does come back, you better watch out. And I mean, Kyrie Irving said it in the post game after the Spurs game. He's like, well, you better get used to seeing James Harden do things like he did against the Spurs, because the young man is motivated. He's hungry. He's happy. He knows he's with a winning organization. And ever since the Rockets, you just see how that organization has just from a playing standpoint, they've been in complete decline, Joanna. They've lost 12 games in a row. This team is in total disarray. The Houston Rockets are. They're a shell of what they were when James Harden was there. So that just shows how much of an impact he made there, even with him not being happy, in the latter stages of his career in Houston before he got dealt to Brooklyn. He still played and he was effective. He was clearly the best basketball player they had on their roster. And now you can see they clearly miss him because they just can't win. They just can't get it together. And they're just in complete free fall mode. Yes,
that's the right word. Free fall.
Free fall. Yes.
Yep. And then just going back to Kevin Durant too, real quickly, despite that he will not be playing, he will remain the All-Star game captain. Do you agree or disagree with that?
He should. I mean, he earned all the votes and the accolades and the right to be in the All-Star game with all of his votes. But because of the hamstring injury, he can't play. Yes, he should still be the captain. They should give him that honor. He's deserved that part. He shouldn't have the captainship stripped from him because he can't play in it. He's earned that right.
Yeah, I totally agree. Just, I know sometimes that can be a little bit of a conversation starter, and some may agree with that and some may not. But yes, if you earned your right to it and you made the work, and why not?
Yes, and then also the league is thinking at this this all-star draft when him and LeBron go up against each other and they're picking the players they want on their teams. That's going to be exciting. That's going to be really fun. So from a marketing standpoint, yes, you still want to have Kevin Durant there for this all-star draft that's going to come up right before the all-star game this weekend. So you want to, from a television standpoint, and to get eyes on your product, you want KD to still be there.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely.
Yes.
Agree.
Very cool.
I'm excited to watch that. That's just around the corner. The All-Star draft will air. Check your cable listings for that, but it is March 4th.
I'm excited to see what Devin Booker is going to do this weekend in Atlanta.
Yeah, I know.
Although he's a reserve and he kind of backed his way in there, unfortunately. I mean, we're still bitter about that. I don't think we'll ever get over that, but he'll be in Atlanta at the All-Star game nevertheless, and I know he'll ball out just like he did the other day against Minnesota.
Yes. So which that brings me to our next topic of the
Love
night.
you love these segues, don't you, Johanna? I'm just killing it tonight.
I do. Yes. I just dropped my pen. But Devin Booker and the Phoenix Suns. So yes, he is a reserve for the All-Star. And just to go ahead and just a little promotion here for our listeners, that Inside Sports Network has now launched a new podcast, and it's on all your major podcast platforms with my awesome co-host here, Ed Cole, along with our great friend and special guest that we have on from time to time, PLR. They have a basketball podcast they have brought your way, Courtside. So go ahead and check it out. It just launched this last Thursday. They have another episode coming up on this coming Thursday. It'll be every week. Short little podcast talking to you about all news NBA. So just want to go ahead and put that out there. They did go ahead and talk a little bit about Phoenix Suns and Devin Booker and All-Star. And they were not shy on how they feel about that. They were not shy on their feelings at all. So go ahead and go on and listen to Courtside and go ahead and download it. But just go ahead and going back to Devin Booker and the Phoenix Suns, a little bit of All-Star activity. So you and I were having this conversation the other night, and how the type of season, not only that the Phoenix Suns just had, especially the run that they had in the bubble, but how, great they've been playing. They have Chris Paul. The other night they had just a phenomenal showdown. I would pretty much say it. Devin Booker, and this is from one of our dear friends and guest star here that comes on the show from time to time is Kevin Ray, and then he also does the play-by-play for the Phoenix Suns. And he put out a tweet, which I agree with him, is watching sports highlights and just I won't say the channel, but it's you would know that you can go ahead and tune in every single night and watch it, and you watch your highlights on it. It's on cable, but waiting to see highlights on, the Phoenix Suns, or you would expect to see a highlight from the Phoenix Suns with amazing plays or the great performance that they have. And you have a team who loses or is not even having a great run, but then you're over here with the Phoenix Suns who are even better than that team that they put highlights on. Like, that's not fair. They're not showcasing the team, or, you would think that when watching a sports channel or a sports, show, and you're doing highlights of, your biggest performances of the night or of the day that you missed out, or, hey, check this out. That's why I watch the highlights, for sports, any given channel, because I want to know what happened, what was the biggest news, the biggest, who made the biggest surprise, or who blew out this team or whatnot. But the team that should be on there, it's getting dubbed or snot, whatever, and it's not happening. Instead, you're seeing over here a team that's probably ranked, number 4 in their conference or whatnot, and instead of having a team that's ranked number 3.
You mentioned that they're number 3 in the Western Conference, a game behind the Los Angeles Lakers, which shows how huge this game is tonight at the Staples Center for the Phoenix Suns. But as K-Ray says, and we're bringing up right now, they get no love. Devin Booker, how does he back into to being in the All-Star game as a reserve because Anthony Davis has an injury? Yet Devin Booker's having a phenomenal season, and he was just named the Kia Western Conference Player of the Month for leading the Phoenix Suns to a 12-3 record in February, Johanna. Yet this young man cannot be named a reserve. He has to come in via injury. This is a man that averaged 28 points, 4 rebounds, and about 5 assists during that 12-3 stretch. And his team is 22-11. Oh, and they're number 3 in the Western Conference. Oh, but they get no love on that network that K-Ray talked about. Huh?
Mm-hmm. And then that's just Devin Booker getting the Player of the Month, followed by getting Player of the Week, receiving that honor.
I don't know. I don't know what it is, Joanna.
That baffles me because before, like, and that's